Good Monday evening and happy Labor Day. I hope you've had the most wonderful and relaxing weekend. We certainly had gorgeous conditions. We had temperatures topping out in the 70s, low humidity, lots of sunshine. So it was very, very nice. And we could be rounding out our Labor Day weekend with a nice light show tonight. So we are going to be on the lookout for the possibility of seeing the northern lights late tonight into the early morning hours of your Tuesday, because there was recently a solar storm that occurred and it was kind of throwing some of these particles in our direction, meaning that they could be interacting with the Earth's poles late tonight into early tomorrow morning. I'm going to dive into the science of that and explain exactly how this happens, how the aurora even forms in the first place, and I hope you'll find that very interesting. And then after that, we're going to be diving into the big temperature swing that is coming to the Great Lakes region late this week. So we've been talking about this for quite some time, that late this week, we have a huge drop in temperatures as a cool Canadian air mass begins to work its way to the south. There's going to be a really strong upper level low pressure system impacting the Great Lakes region late this week. So temps are actually going to take a dive into the 60s for highs. It's going to be feeling more like mid-October than early September by Thursday of this week. And then finally, we're also going to be checking in on the tropics. We are still fairly quiet across the majority of the Atlantic, but we are watching a new storm that has developed in the Pacific. First and foremost, let's dive into the aurora, the northern lights. What are they? How do they form? First and foremost, we have to cover a couple basics for you to understand this. So we have the solar wind that always exists. And then when you're looking at the Earth, we have the magnetic field. And as the solar wind carries charged particles toward the Earth, most of the time we're blocked from those because of this magnetic field, this shield that's around because of our magnetic field that we do have. So it protects us typically from those charged particles that are being thrown our way from the sun. But occasionally you have a solar storm. There was one that took place on Sunday. It was a very strong one, throwing these charged particles in our direction. Now, oftentimes when you have a pretty strong solar storm, these charged particles can make their way all the way to the Earth's poles. So we have the North Pole, the South Pole, and then as these charged particles interact with our poles, it can eventually go into our atmosphere and interact with the nitrogen as well as the oxygen. So that's what's going to be occurring likely late tonight and into the early morning hours of tomorrow. So we have these collisions that are going to be taking place between the sun's charged particles that made their way all the way to the Earth's poles. There's the nitrogen, the oxygen, and when that happens, we get those beautiful colors that you're used to seeing when you picture the aurora borealis. So whenever you see reds or greens during an aurora, that's typically when you have those charged particles interacting with Earth's oxygen, so the atmosphere's oxygen. When you see those really beautiful shades of blues or pinks, that's typically when you have those charged particles interacting with nitrogen. So again, we do have the chance of seeing the northern lights as far south as the Midwest late tonight into early morning tomorrow. What you're going to need to do, though, is you have to get far away from the city lights. So for those of us that are in the city of Chicago or even the immediately surrounding suburbs, we're not looking like we're going to be seeing much out there tonight or early tomorrow morning. But for those of you out in the sticks, you may be able to see at least some faint colors if you get out toward the darkest area that you can find. Look to the northern horizon and you just might see the aurora late tonight. Best time for viewing is likely going to be between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. And then, of course, once the sun comes up tomorrow, the sky starts, getting brighter. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to see that anymore. But it's nice to know that there is a chance out there tonight, and the forecast is actually really going to be cooperating. So right now, we still have high pressure in control, and that's going to continue for another day or so. And then we have our changes coming our way toward the middle of this week. So satellite and radar, you can see things are very quiet around the Chicagoland area. Most of Michigan is under completely clear skies. We do, however, have some showers, some thunderstorms off to our southwest. That's not going to be an issue for us. So all of this activity is pulling away from the region. What's going to cause us some concern is if we zoom things way out, we look to the north, you can see that cluster of showers and thunderstorms moving into northern Minnesota. That's all associated with our next weather maker that's going to be here on Wednesday in the form of a very strong cold front. And that is, of course, going to be triggering some showers and thunderstorms here at home as well. So Futurecast, we're going to run you through tonight into early morning tomorrow. Again, completely clear skies. So if you're hoping to get outside and enjoy the northern lights, if we are lucky enough to be able to see them in our region this far south, it looks like we have clear skies. Temperatures tonight, we're going to be dropping down into the low to mid 50s for most areas, but closer to the city, so in Chicago, the immediately surrounding suburbs, closer to the lakefront, we're very easily going to be staying a little bit warmer, upper 50s to near 60 degrees. So tomorrow morning, a nice, cool, refreshing start, and then temperatures during the afternoon. We are in for at least a brief little warm up. So today's high temperatures for a lot of us, we ended up topping out in the mid to upper 70s. Tomorrow, I do expect to be a little bit warmer. A lot of us are going to top out right around 80 degrees, which, by the way, that's where we should be for this time of the year. So for the very beginning of September, which also, by the way, is officially meteorological fall. Welcome to fall, everybody. So our meteorological seasons, those are broken up into 3-month sections throughout the year. So we have September, October, November that constitutes meteorological fall. So by the way, happy fall. But typically for this time of the year, your average high is right around 80 degrees, and that's where we're going to be tomorrow. So very seasonable, but soak it up, because it's not going to last for very long. Taking us on Futurecast now into Wednesday, we're going to start to see increasing cloud cover. During the morning hours, the cold front hasn't moved through yet. So we're waking up to temps for a lot of us that are going to be pretty close to 60 degrees, a comfortable start to the day. A couple stray showers are going to be possible in the morning, but then watch as this cold front moves through, how we really start to gain some coverage with the showers and thunderstorms during the afternoon, the evening hours. But fortunately, so far, it does not appear like the ingredients for severe thunderstorms are there. So more than anything, I think these are going to be rain producers. So we're looking at some pretty torrential downpours at times. But the good news with this is, one, we still need a little bit of rain around here. That would be a good thing. But this cold front, it's going to be coming through pretty quickly. So unlike the last few events, those rain events that we've had where we've seen training taking place, localized flooding, I really don't think that this is going to turn out to be one of those events for us, because this cold front, again, it's going to continue to just kind of cruise on by, taking the showers and thunderstorms along with it. So there's only going to be a couple-hour window during the afternoon and evening that we could see a steady rain. But then after that, we're going to clear things back out. We have high pressure building back in, and that's going to eventually result in much cooler conditions going into your Thursday morning. High temperatures today for your Labor Day. Again, it was gorgeous. We hit 80 in Aurora, 77 at O'Hare, same thing at the lakefront and in Gary. Made it to the mid 70s in places like Merrillville as well as Rensselaer, both at 76 degrees, 80 in LaSalle, 78 in Rockford, 79 degrees was the high temperature in Waukegan. And here's where we're headed. So I mentioned that tomorrow, gorgeous, lots of sunshine. We have highs close to 80. And then on Wednesday, despite that cold front moving through, it's still going to be fairly warm. So we have plenty of time to be able to warm up those temperatures prior to that cold air coming in Wednesday night. So Wednesday is going to be kind of our last summer-like day for a little while. And then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, we're expected to be in the 60s, and that's going to put us about 15 degrees below average for this time of the year. So that Thursday high of 65, that potentially could be a record breaker, because on September 4th, which is Thursday's date, the record lowest high temperature, there we go, the record lowest high temperature for September 4th is 66 degrees. That was set back in 1994, and I'm forecasting a high of 65. So if we do stay below 66 degrees, that's going to be a record cold high temperature that we'll see on the 4th. Now, looking beyond the next 5 days. So this is your temperature outlook from the 7th through the 11th, which happens to be, I believe, Sunday through Thursday of next week. We're still strongly favored to see those cooler than average conditions. So once that cool air settles in by the end of this week, it's going to stay below average. And again, keep in mind, average is around 80, but that's going to start to drop every couple days now. And then looking toward the middle of this month, this is your temperature outlook from the 9th through the 15th. We're going to start to see a little bit of a pattern flip-flop. So we're moving in the right direction toward the middle portion of this month. Checking in with the tropics. Again, we do have a new system to tell you about. This is Tropical Storm Kiko, and we have 65-mile-per-hour winds. This is now in the eastern Pacific, and it's moving west-southwesterly right around 7 miles per hour. Maximum wind gusts are as high as about 75 miles per hour. And here's where it's headed. So again, it's moving westerly, but you'll notice as we get closer to this weekend, so Friday, Saturday, going into Sunday, do you see what could potentially be in line with this storm? So it is forecast to strengthen. Right now it's a tropical storm. It's likely going to become a Category 1 hurricane some point tonight or early morning tomorrow, strengthening into a Category 2, but then it could move very, very close to Hawaii. So that's going to be something that we have to track very, very closely this weekend going into next week as Kiko begins to move in that direction. And then also there's another system that's likely going to develop here in the next day or so. There's a tropical depression or a storm that is likely in the next 1 to 2 days just on the southwestern coast here of Mexico. And then it's likely going to turn and move up toward Baja California. Finally, we're going to check in with the Atlantic. Not a ton taking place, but there is one area of interest. There's 60% chance of development over the next 7 days that we could see a tropical depression that could possibly form by mid to late this week. So definitely a little bit busier over in the eastern Pacific. Coming up right after this 2-minute break, I'm going to break down our rain chances for this week and just where the drought monitor stands. Those details coming up. Welcome back. Well, if you think back to all of the rain that we picked up during the middle of the month, August actually came in above average as far as rainfall is concerned, and the drought monitor completely agrees with that. So all of that rain that we picked up, especially around mid-month when we had those really heavy downpours rolling through, it made a huge dent in the drought monitor. So most of the area not considered to be in any sort of drought-like condition whatsoever. But you'll notice there's a small pocket in LaSalle County that's considered to be abnormally dry. Same thing in the far northern suburbs, places like Lake County into northeastern McHenry County, also considered to be abnormally dry. But otherwise, we're in really good shape. Your 5-day forecast around here, good chance of rain coming our way on Wednesday. That's associated with that cold front that we were talking about. And then on Thursday, we stay dry. By Friday, we have another weak disturbance that's going to move through. Not going to be a wash of a day by any means, but I do think that we're going to have at least some scattered activity rolling through on Friday. And it's going to have a little bit more of chill in the air compared to Wednesday's system as well, because on Friday, your highs are only going to be in the mid to upper 60s. Again, that is well below average for this time of the year. For tonight, mostly clear skies. Don't forget, for those of you that are hoping to see the northern lights, go somewhere away from the city lights. Look toward the northern horizon. You just might see them late tonight. Best time for viewing is going to be 1 a.m. to 4 a.m. And your temperature is looking really good. We're going to be in the low to mid 50s for most areas, but in the city of Chicago, the immediately surrounding suburbs, that's where we're going to find our low temperatures tonight in the upper 50s. Your forecast high temperatures for tomorrow going to be near 80 degrees, feeling like summer, very seasonable for this time of the year. And soak it in if you can, because big changes late this week. Your 3-day forecast, 80 degrees tomorrow, showers and storms on Wednesday. By Thursday, we are in the mid 60s. Coming up on the 9 p.m. news, I will of course show you your 7-day forecast and how this upcoming weekend is going to be shaping up. Those details at 9. We'll see you then.